Good day to you. This is Todd. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word. Today, we are continuing our journey through the book of Mark, and we are getting close to the end of Mark, actually. We're starting on chapter 15 today, and I'm going to be reading verses 1 through 15 of chapter 15. It's kind of easy to remember. Mark 15, 1 through 15. So this is Jesus before Pilate. If you remember a couple episodes back, Jesus had been arrested, and then he was taken before the religious leaders, okay? And the religious leaders were like trying to find a way to convict him, really. And they couldn't, they had a bunch of people testify, but they were all lying, and then their lies didn't even agree, okay? So then finally they just asked Jesus, are you God, really? And he goes, yeah, I am. And then they just went into a rage, and especially when he said, you'll see me, in the future and stuff. And, they just erupted, and they were like, and the religious leaders ripped their clothes. They were so mad about it. So then we talked about, the last episode, we talked about how Peter, who had been told by Jesus, you will disown me. And Peter goes, no, I wouldn't do that. And he was belligerent, like, I will stay with you all the way to the end. But here he had fallen. And then I believe it changed his heart then too, that he was much more compassionate about those who'd fallen into sin, like he had. And then, but he repented. So today we're picking it up in chapter 15, and this is Jesus before Pilate, okay? So the religious leaders have now are done with him, and they want him dead, really. And so they're bringing him before Pilate, who is the government leader at that time, okay? And you're going to find out Pilate was just a person, he was out trying to please people, is what he was trying to do. In the end, it didn't work out so well for him, and the Romans got rid of him, really. And they just, back then, they would erase all marks of you. So extra biblical resources had a hard time finding out if there really was a Pilate, because they had erased everything about him. But there has been extra biblical resources that have been exposed here that actually talked about Pilate. But he was erased. The Romans got rid of him. And when they get rid of you, they really get rid of you. Let's read Mark 15, verses 1 through 15. It says, very early in the morning, the chief priests and the elders and the teachers of the law and the whole Sanhedrin made their plans. So they bound Jesus and led him away and handed him over to Pilate. Okay, so keep in mind that Jesus had the Last Supper. He went to Gethsemane. He went to pray. Then he's arrested while there. Okay, remember, it was at night he was arrested. Then they bring him to the religious leaders. Okay, this is all happening at night. Okay, and then very early in the morning, this is still dark, and then they bring him, to Pilate. Okay, they're bringing him to Pilate. All right, so they handed Jesus bound and led him away and handed him over to Pilate. Verse 2. Are you the king of the Jews? Asked Pilate. You have said so, Jesus replied. Jesus wasn't denying that. The chief priests accused him of many things. So again, Pilate asked him, aren't you going to answer? See how many things they are accusing you of? But Jesus still made no reply, and Pilate was amazed. All kinds of accusations coming at Jesus, but Jesus didn't reply. Why? Okay. Now it was the custom at the festival to release a prisoner whom the people requested. A man called Barabbas was in prison with the insurrectionists who had committed murder in the uprising. The crowd came up and asked Pilate to do for them what he usually did. So it was the custom each year that a prisoner would be released. And you see that today, especially at the end of a presidential term, that a bunch of people, that were in prison will be released. And they can be, it's called pardon, the presidential pardon. And they can be released. And it's usually right at the last day, the president will release a bunch of prisoners. And it's, they've usually made some deal or, given to the campaign fund or whatever of the president. So anyway, they're released. But so that happens today. But this is happening that once a year he would release a prisoner. So Pilate is thinking to himself, a way I can get out of this is I'll release a prisoner, and this Jesus is harmless, so let me release him, okay? Because the religious leaders wanted him dead. So he thought, I'll give him this guy that actually murdered people. Let them choose between Barabbas or Jesus, who's harmless, okay? And surely they're going to choose Jesus. Well, let's see what happens. Verse 9, do you want me to release to you the king of the Jews? Asked Pilate, knowing it was out of self-interest that the chief priests had handed Jesus over to him. But the chief priests stirred up the crowd to have Pilate release Barabbas instead. So you got this crowd mentality going on. And the chief priests had said, yell and scream for Barabbas, all right, because they wanted Jesus dead. Verse 12, what shall I do then with this one you call the king of the Jews? Pilate asked them. Crucify him, they shouted. Why? What crime has he committed? Asked Pilate. But they shouted all the louder, crucify him. This is the key verse right here. Verse 15. Wanting to satisfy the crowd. Let me repeat that. Wanting to satisfy the crowd. Pilate released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus flogged and handed him over to be crucified. Pilate was all about pleasing the people, okay? Not doing what was right, okay? So you'll have leaders today, and you can either be someone who pleases the crowd, or you can be doing what's right, okay? If I'm pastor of a church, I need to be doing what's right, and that doesn't necessarily please all the people, okay? I could be pastoring a church and say, hey, everybody, I'm going to be, passing out $1,000. Is that the right thing to do? I don't know. But it's pleasing the crowd. They're like, oh, yeah, right on, $1,000, okay? But so the big thing of this is, what are you? Are you someone who's a people pleaser, or are you doing what's right? And that's going to come into conflict quite a bit in your life. Are you a people pleaser, or are you doing what's right? So think about that today. 2 choices. Please people or do what's right. And that'll be a big conflict. Thanks for watching. I'm just a regular dude walking in the Word, and I will see you tomorrow. Blessings.